What's up, guys? Specstar here today with my team builder for the quarterfinal round of the NPL tournament. And I am going up here against Vepsis, and he's got himself a team consisting of Z Tapu Koko, Gliscor, Thorn, Kyurem, Tentacruel, Z Incineroar, Licky, Uxie, Heracross, Alolan Raichu, and Mega Pidgeot. And I've got myself a team right here, and I'm going to go over my sets and talk to you guys about them. Starting off here, I've got my Mega Venusaur, and I'm just rocking a pretty standard physically defensive set here. Nothing too special. I thought it had a pretty solid matchup. There are a few things that can annoy it, but it checks a few things on his team that are important defensively, and it is a little bit annoying for him to deal with. Doesn't switch in on it too easily. Kyurem can kind of do it, but it's not necessarily the first Pokemon in line to want to switch in on this thing. So I've got a 3-attack synthesis set. In this match I like to have the coverage because it is able to hit his team pretty well. I didn't want to sacrifice the ability to cover his team pretty well to add any utility moves. Sludge Bomb allows it to hit things like the Kyurem, like Uxie, things like that. I've got Energy Ball here instead of Giga Drain, which I normally like because of the Tentacruel. It allows me to beat the Tentacruel. For those of you who don't know, Tentacruel has an ability called Liquid Ooze, which would make my Giga Drain hurt me instead of healing me, so Energy Ball is better for that. Also hits Gliscor harder, which is relatively nice. And Hidden Power Fire, of course, for that little Thorn. Just want to have something for that. Speaking of something for Thorn, next up here I've got my Scarf Heatran, and on this, let me remember what my speed's for. I know was it just creeping the Adamant Heracross? Yeah, I was just creeping the Adamant Heracross here. Because that was a potential Scarfer I thought he may want to bring, and it's important for me to be able to outspeed that thing. Of course I can't outspeed it if it is Jolly with Heatran, but it may very well in this matchup just want to be Adamant. So it's nice for me to be faster than that. Overheat. A move, you guys, if you've been following this, you know I like to run on this thing. Allows me to hit and run. Good power, good accuracy. Makes this thing harder to switch in on. Earth Power is going to cover that lovely little Tentacruel. Stealth Rocks, because I didn't have them on another Mon. And if Tentacruel's out of the way early, I may just very well want to set them up. And Flash Cannon was primarily for the Kyurem. Just a move I can spam pretty decently that doesn't draw up my special attack as well. But mostly I just want to be able to hit the Kyurem hard with this. And that's going to be my Heatran set. Next up here I've got another Scarfer, rocking dual Scarf this matchup, because he does have a good deal of speed and potential Scarfers on his team, so I like to be able to cover that with my build here. I've got the Scarf Keldeo here, which is rockin' modest, enough speed to outpace a Jolly Heracross on this one. I didn't want to invest all the way in speed on this thing because if I wanted to outspeed a max speed Kyurem, I would have had to be timid. And the modest power is really nice in this matchup. Makes it easier for this Pokemon to start to claim KOs in the late game, and it makes it just more annoying for him to deal with. Nothing too special about this set. I do have Icy Wind, which I've got over something like a potential Hidden Power Fire or something like that. Focus Blast, other moves I did consider running on this. The reason I've got Icy Wind on this thing is because if he gets screens up and he wants to pass with his Gliscor, which is something I did consider, I can bring the Keldeo in on the Gliscor, won't be able to KO it, I can hit it with an Icy Wind, which means if it goes for an agility, it will be at +1 speed, and anything he passes to, I will be able to outspeed with my Keldeo after the speed reduction, and then I will have that potential to try to revenge kill it. And I have Scald on this thing just because Hydro Pump's not accurate. If you played Pokemon long enough, you have very big issues trusting that move like I do. So I've got its little accurate cousin to bring on this set as well. Now next up here, I'm going to have my Life Orb Swellow, and I'm going to be rocking Life Orb instead of Specs or something like that on this, and that is because there are some responses like, well, pretty much we're going to focus on for Thorn. I don't want to be forced into 50-50 with Boom Burst versus Heat Wave. In this matchup, I just want to be able to reliably do damage with Swellow, and it can still do that with a Life Orb set. Heat Wave in Boom Burst will pretty much hit anything I have to. Boom Burst hits everything except for Thorn. Heat Wave hits the Thorn. And the reason I've got Whirlwind on this, I talked to you a bit about Gliscor Baton passing. I can come on it with my Swellow and just click Whirlwind if you want to try to pass. I will kibosh that. And that is just a tactic we thought he may want to use in this game, and it's something I paid thought to. Roost allows me to come in on Gliscor with this thing more reliably, even with my Life Orb. And that's going to be my thought process there. I want to be able to keep the thing around because it is somewhat important for my strategy in this. Next up here, I have got my Electress, and I'm running a Brick Break, Acid Spray, Assault Vest set. Brick Break is for the potential screens that he likes to run. I want to be ready for those. I don't want to have them be abused against me. They also allow me, Brick Break also allows me to hit Kyurem a little bit. Just a little bit though, that thing's a fat motherfucker. Acid Spray allows me to stay in and not be forced out by things like Hooksy, like Licky Licky, like Gliscor, things like that. Volt Switch, just Volt Switch things, and Hidden Power Ice is there just to let me hit the Gliscor, primarily. And I'm just specially defensive. Not too much explanation required there. Allows me to reliably switch in on things like Coco and things like Raichu, things like Pidgeot. Just allows this thing to be durable and get multiple switch-ins. And lastly here, I've got my Assault Vest Hitmonchan, and I am running enough speed on this thing to outpace a no-speed Gliscor, just to allow me to potentially break that thing if it wants to be the response to Hitmonchan with my Ice Punch. Again, I've got Brick Break. He likes to run screens. I want to be ready for screens. Earthquake allows me to take a hit from the Tapu Koko, hit that thing back. Also allows me to hit Tentacruel, which is somewhat important for this thing. And yeah, that's going to be my team there. Rapid Spin, of course, needs no introduction. And to recap my team here, I've got a physically defensive Mega Venusaur, Choice Scarf Heatran, Choice Scarf Keldeo, Life Orb Special Attacking Swellow, Assault Vest Eel, and Assault Vest Hitmonchan. If you are watching this on the day this video came up, hello people from the near future. Also, the battle video should be up not much longer. Maybe not same day. Probably not same day, probably the day after. That's what's most likely, I think. But yeah, not too long from now. So that's gonna be it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Wish me luck. Have yourselves a good night.